one of our previous tutorials, we set up a JDBC connection to the MariaDB database so that we were able to access the database from within IntelliJ. We will now start to populate our charity database from within IntelliJ using SQL Script. For my YouTube students, this slideshow is part of a YouTube playlist. The playlist URL will be listed in the description and comments of this lesson. All source code for this playlist will be available for free in a GitHub repository. These are the high-level steps we will perform in this lesson. First, we will recreate our application user and the charity database. Then we will create a charity table. Then we will create the relationship tables between our charity and category, program, and associate. And then we will populate the categories and the programs. Once that part is done, we will create our associate address table, our associate email table, and our associate phone table. And then finally, our associate type table. Here we are back in IntelliJ. So let's look at our current Git branch. So we're starting with populating our MariaDB database. If we open up here, we see that previously we have created a charity database and user. And now we have to also create a root user. And if we look at our root user, it's got root secret, and we don't specify the database. And when we do that, we can actually see our database that we've created, charity database. So using our root user database connection, we will start populating the database. So we jump to Query Console and going to the Markdown documentation, we start with dropping and recreating the charity database. Execute. So we first had to create it because it didn't find it. Execute again. And that looks good. Now we need to save this in our SQL Script file. The next step is to create the application user. And we will also grant all the required privileges on the charity database. That looks good, so that means we can save it. So now we have our database created and our application user that will be used by our Java application. Next up, we create the charity database table. We run the table creation script. That looks good. Now let's see if we can run the full script. That looks good as well. Now we have created the charity database table, and we can also see it in our database tab. So we'll save it. Now, next up, we are going to create the relationship tables for the charity table, starting with the category table. And we see the highlight in red here because the relationship table does not yet exist. So we'll run this selection of the SQL script. And it looks so good. We see the category table shows up. Now we can move on to the actual relationship table. Well, before we move on, we also need to save this script. We'll save the entire script and come back to it later. For now, we create the tables without the foreign key relationships. So we see it in the database. We will save it. Now we see the red highlight is gone because the charity category table exists. And now we'll insert some category data into our category table. And that looks good. Let's have a look at our category table now. And we see it's been populated. Let's save this insertion script. We have the category table populated and the category charity relationship table created. Our next step is to create the program script. And once again, we see the charity program relationship table shows up in the red because it has not yet been created. That looks good. Our program table has been created. So now we can save the script. Next up, we can run the data insertion script of our programs. And that looks good. Let's have a look at our program table. And we see that it has been successfully populated. Now we can run the script to create the charity program relationship table. And our relationship table has been created. So we'll have to save this script. And let's see what's next. Okay, next up is creating our charity associate table and all its relationship tables. There is our charity associate table. So let's save the script. Now that the charity associate table has been created, we can start creating the relationship tables. Here we create the charity associate address table. And we see it has been created. So now we can save the SQL script. And we see also that we still don't run the foreign key creation because we are going to be inserting data. Next is the charity associate email script. There is our charity associate email table. So we'll save this script. The next script is the charity associate phone script. Our phone table has been created, so we'll save the script. And it looks like we're coming to the end. The next one is the charity associate type. And our associate type table has been created, so we can save the script. And I think we are ready to complete this lecture at this stage. We now have created the base of our charity database and all its related table that we can use to demonstrate how Spring JDBC works. And that concludes this lesson.